We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history.
Good morning and welcome to Faith on the Front Line. I'm Pastor William Monroe Campbell of the Mount Gilead Missionary Baptist Church. Our executive producer, the Reverend Dr. Louis E. Logan, is out of town and not with us today, but we are delighted to have you with us on LA Talk Live as we share in Faith on the Front Line. We do expect a call-in guest to join with us. Our focus of conversation today will be the matter of the Affordable Health Care Act, and particularly in the state of California, a resource person from Covered California. As I approach the preparation for today's program, I'm mindful that within our respective faith traditions, and certainly for me as a Christian pastor, very much a part of my own orientation is the matter of healing. Most faith communities have as a vital part of their sensitivity to those who share in their communities the issue of their health. And in our faith tradition, the matter of people being healed, one of the identifying factors of who Jesus was for those who have come to live in response to him was the variety of miracles he did to attest to his person, and incorporated in those miracles was the matter of healing. We have incident after incident after incident. We have the woman with the issue of blood. We have the blind man, blind Bartimaeus. We have the man whose friends lured him down through a roof in order that he might be at the feet of Jesus to experience healing. We have incident on top of incident where healing is a vital part of the events that accompany our faith, and others of other faith traditions can share with you incidents of healing in their own respective faith tradition. And so as we approach the issue of the Affordable Health Care Act that has come to be known as Obamacare, there's a very real association with it, a very real identification with it, both in terms of the matter of people being healthy and people being whole, but also a sense of justice, the whole issue of social justice, the issue of caring about your brother and your sister, doing to others as you would have them do unto you, is the language of what generally our society knows as the golden rule, would cause us to be concerned about those who are without the basic provision. And certainly health is a very basic provision for when our health is limited, our capacity to be able to do just a host of other things become limited. And I say a host of other things. Yes, we know there are persons who have become impaired. We know there are those who are on sick beds, and those who are shut in, and they achieve a vitality in the context of their life situation, even though it becomes impacted by their health. And so as we approach the issue of health and health care. We're dealing with a basic issue, a basic need for our people. There's within our tradition as a community, a prayer tradition that says, "You woke me up this morning, clothed in my right mind. I had the use and the activities of my limbs." That's reflecting a basic understanding of the importance of health. And so it's with a certain measure of appreciation that we are delighted that the President of these United States, along with the Congress that was seated with him at the time in his first term, was able to achieve that was a concern of presidents going all the way back to Theodore Roosevelt after the beginning of the last century. The president and president after president after president, following on the heels of his leadership, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Dwight D. Eisenhower, all had a concern about being able to deliver the resources of the nation to undergird health care for the many, many, many people in this nation who did not have the provisions for health care, did not have insurance programs and packages. And so I receive with positive regard the fact that the Congress and the President moved forward to establish the Affordable Health Care Act. And then we know that with it being challenged, it was challenged and worked its way to the United States Supreme Court. And they essentially affirmed it. They did some modifications to it, but they approved it. And so it's a law that provides for the people, and particularly those without, to be able to have quality, affordable health care. And in recent days, we have learned of the slow delivery of that health care. We live in an age of technology, or I should say advanced technology, because the ability to strike rock to rock and create fire was technology in its own right. And all the implements and the artifacts that we've had through the years were methods of technology in all right. The wheel itself was a matter of technology in its own right, but we're talking about advanced technology. And today, the advancement of that technology manifests itself in terms of computer systems and internet systems. And so this program had as a primary instrument for the delivery of those services the opportunity for persons to learn more about it and to be able to enroll by way of the internet. Unfortunately and regrettably, that resource has not functioned as was expected, and the news is broad with information about the failure of the internet enrollment system to be able to service us as we would want and hope and look for it servicing us. Notwithstanding, we still press forward. And so we welcome you today as we engage in conversation about the Affordable Health Care law, known to us as the Obamacare. And as we do it, we are aware that while it is implemented at the federal level, one of the rulings that came forth from the Supreme Court lifted up the role that the individual states would play in terms of implementing it, and provided some choice about how it could be implemented at the state level. Where states choose not to enter into it, there is some opportunity for the federal government to create its own exchanges as well as the national exchanges. It happens in California that our state here made the decision to indeed participate in the program, and so they have covered California as the instrument and the vehicle for the delivery of services for those who are resident here in the state of California. And several states, such as California, such as New York, such as Kentucky, have been able to make advances in terms of the implementation of their systems. And we're grateful for that. And so this morning, it is yet morning, we are giving attention to the matter of the Affordable Care Act, again known to us as Obamacare. The scheduled dates were for persons to be able to begin enrolling in on October 1st through the end of the year, and then the program would actually take effect on January 1st. One of the elements to that program was to be the mandatory requirement for persons to enroll if you did not already have some viable form of health care. It was needful for you to enroll, and after that, you would be subject to certain penalties if you didn't. And the logic behind that was that when persons do not have health care provisions, when they do not have insurance, too often they then end up relying on the emergency room services of our hospitals. And when they have to turn to the emergency room, it has a twofold impact. First, it costs them more for those services. And secondly, if they don't have the resources to pay, it costs us more for those services. And so we all suffer when we do not have full participation, and hence the mandatory element came in to ensure that there was a large enough pool of persons enrolled so that they would receive the kinds of benefits that they certainly would need to receive to sustain their health. And then also it would lower the cost. The idea of insurance is a shared load. The more people who are insured lowers the cost for everybody to be insured. And so there was the mandatory component. It's my understanding that because of the difficulties they've had with the enrollment process by way of the internet, by way of healthcare.gov, that the president and his administration has extended the deadline as of right now some 6 weeks.
Is that true?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, do you believe because of the overwhelm of people applying, I don't think the system could handle it? Do you think that's the reason why they've been having problems with enrollment? Or what's your opinion on that?
What I've heard at this point is that it's a combination, that they were not prepared for the overwhelming numbers who did go online seeking to access the system, but it may well be also that there was the capacity of the internet system to deliver had some inherent problems within it. So you're working on both ends. You're working on flaws that were operative in the system, and that's what they're trying to correct, as well as the fact that they were overwhelmed by the numbers. And unfortunately, the word is that the period of testing of the system prior to its launching was very abbreviated. I think there was some 2 weeks, if I understand that correctly, for testing, and it really warranted. And I also understand that there are intricacies because it's a melding of a variety of systems. It's not just a unilateral system, but it's melding of the diverse systems. They're all of the insurance companies have their information and track into their information. The various states having their information and tracking into their information. The on the delivery side, in terms of the government itself, so that it's a very complicated system, and they've had some challenges in terms of effectuating
Right.
how those systems have been incorporated and work together. And so all of that they're having to go through and work out.
Okay, so necessarily it's not a bad thing. It's good that the people are trying to get on the line. It's just that they was unprepared in getting things right.
Yeah, absolutely. The end result and the purpose is a very good purpose. It was, again, I think they said there's some 30 million, between 30 and 45 million people in this country who did not have insurance and who were relying on emergency rooms, and so that it corrects that. And so the end result to ensure that there is insurance coverage for everyone and available to everyone. And then the other piece is quality insurance, because it's my understanding that some of the reports we're hearing about people who are talking about having their insurance dropped and crying out about it, in many instances, they had insurance plans that were inadequate. The other thing that happened was, in addition to creating the exchanges, and the idea, as we understand it by the exchange, is that initially it was a matter of going online, but now you can also go by way of telephone, etc. And it actually just provides a web for you to make contact with a private insurance carrier. So the reality is the government is not the insurance carrier, it's private insurance carriers. But you have the opportunity to go on. It's like going to a cafeteria and you get a chance to see and
menu.
choose the menu and see what works for you, what meets your need. And if you have particularized needs, you're able to secure it. But with that came also, as I understand it, the requirement that the insurance that was provided would meet certain minimal needs. You wouldn't have insurance and you go to the hospital and you discover that, hospital isn't covered. You wouldn't have insurance and you get sick, and then the insurance company said, you're too much of a liability now. You got sick, and they drop you.
You drop you, yeah. That's not good at all whatsoever. I am so blessed that the coverage I have is through the VA system.
Yes.
It may not be the best, but still, in some people's opinion, may not be the best.
Yeah.
But it still helps me and provides me with adequate care when needed.
So it's been able to meet your needs.
For me, it meets my needs, yes.
And in terms of the VA, the Veterans Administration, in that instance, it is the government. These are veterans of the military forces.
Exactly.
And part of the obligation that the nation commits to as persons either were drafted in the previous generation or enlist in the current generation and put themselves in the potential of harm's way. Not everybody who entered in the military necessarily went to war, but they potentially could have been sent to war.
Exactly.
And many did go to war, so they put themselves in harm's way, both in a commitment to the nation's security, and then they became a benefit to those of us who would have been otherwise vulnerable to assault, violent assault, and potential assaults through war, etc. And so the country said, because you did this, we have an obligation to you, and part of our obligation is to provide for your health care. And so through the Veterans Administration, there are health care provisions and other provisions you could tell me more about that I would know about. And what I hear you saying is that has been adequate to meet your needs.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, and in certain situations, even dental isn't covered in my plan that I have, but there is ways that it can cover my dental needs if I needed dental care. But not to get off the subject too much, but it's good that this type of health plan is in effect. It's just trying to work all the bugs out of it
Yes.
to get it so that everybody won't get the runaround or discouraged because they can't get through, whether it's on the phone or online, so that when January 1st does come and it is in effect, that they can go to a hospital of their choice and get the care that they need, whether it's for themselves or their children or whoever.
Right. There's some other elements too that I understand have happened and already that have begun to take effect. Is that children to the age of 26 have been able to be on their parents' plan, and so those of us who have adult children are delighted that they're able to be on their plan. We have a caller. We want to receive our caller. Welcome to Faith on the Front Line.
Reverend, thank you so much for having me on your show.
Thank you. This is Zachary Conroy.
Conron.
Nothing is more important than pronouncing someone's name correctly. And so Zachary Conron, and we're so delighted. Zachary, I understand that you are with CLU, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice.
That's correct, Reverend Logan.
Yeah, and that has been a movement that started in the late 90s, in approximately 1996, I believe it was, is when CLU got it started as clergy came together to look at economic justice issues. They initially came together around the issue of the living wage, in concert with the living wage movement, and they have continued to assert themselves in terms of addressing a variety of issues. And so we are delighted to have you with us from CLUE, C-L-U-E, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice. And I understand you're also with Covered California. You want to bring us up to date on what's going on with the implementation of the Affordable Health Care Act, known colloquially now as Obamacare, particularly here in the state of California.
Absolutely. Well, we're at a very exciting moment in our country's recent history. You know, up until now, a lot of people haven't had access to health insurance. Despite the fact that they might be sick, despite the fact that they may be at risk of facing financial hardship if they do get sick.
Yes.
And because of the Affordable Care Act, now everyone, regardless of their current health status, their current income level, everyone has access to affordable health insurance.
Very good. And how does that work?
And Covered California is the new statewide health insurance marketplace, which has been created by the Affordable Care Act. And so what it does is it facilitates people's access to that insurance. And so the Affordable Care Act gave an opportunity for states to create these exchanges. And California was the first out of the gate.
All right.
We said, yeah, we're on board with that. And I think as Californians, we can be really proud of that because now anyone who, even someone who just wants information about their options, as a consumer, and as a consumer, we all want information, right? That's what allows us to make the best decisions, best choices for ourselves and our families. We can contact Covered California and find out what our options are.
How do we contact Covered California?
Well, it's really fantastic because there are so many different ways that you can do that. Now, as a part of Clue, I am going around giving presentations to communities of faith and also other community organizations, informing them about Covered California and the new options that are available to them. So if you attend a presentation like that with somebody who's a certified educator or a certified enrollment counselor, you can give your information to them and be contacted at a later date where you can individually go through your options and address any any personal concerns or situations that you might have in privacy. You're also welcome to go to the website, which is coveredca.com, and you can also mail in your contact information via the U.S. Postal Service, and there's also a hotline that you can call to get any questions answered or to be connected with a certified enrollment counselor as well.
Very good. Do you have that hotline phone number available for us at this time?
I'm looking for it right now, but it may take me a few minutes.
Okay.
So I'll be sure to have that for you by the end of our conversation here.
Excellent. Okay. And so you're saying there are multiple ways to do it. There are presentations that are being made at various sites and at those presentations. And I heard recently that the Trinity Baptist Church in Los Angeles is hosting one of those presentations, and there are other churches that are hosting presentations. And if someone hears about a presentation regarding the Affordable Health Care Act or Obamacare, they can attend those presentations. They will get information, and then they can leave their information and make arrangements for a personal contact with a certified educator who would be able to help guide them through the enrollment process. And then there is the Covered California website. And is that coveredca.com? Is that correct?
That's right, coveredca.com. And, of course, all of the certified enrollment counselors, certified educators, and certified insurance agents are all obligated under the law to serve your best interests as the consumer.
Okay. That's the other thing that we were just saying, Zachary, before you called in, is that part of the issue that's receiving a lot of attention about insurance companies cutting people right now, that they're, in essence, being forced to cut them in the sense that the insurance companies are called to meet a certain standard, and so their decision not to meet that standard results in them terminating the existing policies that may have actually been inadequate to the person's need. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And so when if a person happens to receive such a letter, instead of becoming hysterical and distressed and dismayed, they need to realize that they're receiving that letter because what they had before probably did not meet their need, and they may not have known that it did not meet their needs sufficiently. And so it becomes necessary to then see what alternatives are available that would more adequately meet their need.
That's exactly correct, Reverend.
Okay, let's do this. Let's take a couple of moments for a break, and perhaps it'll give you an opportunity also to pursue that phone number we want to share with our audience. Again, we're delighted to have you with us on Faith on the Front Line at latalklive.com, and our executive producer is the Reverend Dr. Lewis E. Logan II.
If you're like me, it's lunchtime. And I want to thank our sponsors of the Faith on the Frontline radio broadcast in the form of Uncle Daryl's Cajun Cuisine at 2560 Lincoln Boulevard, Marina Del Rey. And also Doolin's on Crenshaw, that soul food restaurant owned by Greg Doolin, my good friend and brother, 4859 Crenshaw Boulevard, right here in Los Angeles, California. We want to thank them for being our special sponsors for Faith on the Front Line. I want to encourage all my Faith on the Front Line listeners, if you're hungry, if you want seafood, Uncle Daryl's Cajun Cuisine is the place to go, right there at 2560 Lincoln Boulevard on the corner of Lincoln and Washington Boulevard. And if you want some soul food and you know you're not on a diet but need to be, but you're willing to skip it just for a quick second, I'd encourage you to go to Doolin's right there on Crenshaw Boulevard, 4859. Greg will take care of you. His wonderful staff will smile at you and they will pile it on. I'm telling you, it's ridiculous. Good food, good cuisine. Thank you for being our sponsors. Faith on the Frontline family, go and support Uncle Daryl's and Doolin's. Thank you so much. Faith on the Frontline listeners, this is Dr. Lewis Logan, your executive producer, giving thanks and props to one of our sponsors, United We Ship, 877-229-0577. That's 877-229-0577. Any shipping logistical needs you may have, whether it's a small letter or larger parcel or whatever it is you need, Michelle Israel and the professional staff of United We Ship will take care of all of your shipping needs. They're going toe-to-toe with the big boys, UPS and FedEx, and they're going to make it happen nationwide through their network of shipping logistics capacity. They are sponsors of Faith on the Frontline, and I highly recommend that you call Michelle Israel at 877-229-0577 for any of your shipping needs. They are special sponsors of Faith on the Frontline. He stepped out on faith, and let's step up and support him. Thank you.
Hi, this is Dawn Christie inviting you to join me every Friday, 1 p.m. Pacific, for my all-new show, The Dawn Christie Show. Join me as I discuss love, spiritual readings, your purpose, why am I born, what am I here to do. So don't forget to tune in The Dawn Christie Show at 1 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on LA Talk Live. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV, reality radio, handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hello, I'm Joel Ramirez.
And I'm Lolita Robinson Coppage, and welcome to Joy in My House
on LATalkLive.com. Inspirational radio
with a touch of recovery.
A reality show where nothing is left unsaid
and no one is insignificant who says it.
Exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B or watch us on Ustream TV.
Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Barbara Perkins, inviting you to join us every Sunday afternoon at 2:40 for Sisters at the Well Radio, a conversation with women about women. Join us as we share stories about current events, jazz events, business opportunities, health and wellness, entertainment, and so much more. So don't forget to tune in Sundays at 2:40, exclusively on LATalkLive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, or watch and listen directly at LATalkLive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Welcome again to Faith on the Front Line. Our executive producer is the Reverend Dr. Louis E. Logan II. He's away from us today. However, I am happy to have you with us. I'm Pastor William Monroe Campbell of the Mount Gilead Missionary Baptist Church. And our focus of conversation this morning is the matter of health care, more specifically the Affordable Health Care Act, the law that was passed by the Congress of the United States of America and signed by the President, the Honorable Barack Obama, and approved upon appeal by the United States Supreme Court. We have as a special guest with us today Zachary Conron, C-O-N-R-O-N, Zachary Conron. He's with CLUE, Clergy and Laity United for Economic Justice, and he's here with us today sharing with us information about the Affordable Health Care Act as it is manifested and implemented here in the state of California. And so, again, Zachary, we say welcome, and we're delighted to have you with us.
And Pastor, again, thank you for the privilege.
As we continue to talk, we're talking about how the Affordable Health Care Act here in California operates under Covered California, and the fact that there are a variety of ways of getting plugged in to the Affordable Health Care Act so that you can learn about the health care resources that are available to you, or the health insurance resources that are available to you to enable you to access the health care resources that are available to you. Zachary, you want to give us a brief review of that again, and then continue to share with us more information about how the Affordable Health Care Act is being implemented here in California under Covered California?
Absolutely. And the phone number, just so you know, is 1-888-975-1142.
That's 1
Again, 1-888-975-1142.
And when they call,
and that's a hotline where you can get answers to all of your questions. You can begin the process of signing up for the new insurance. People are available to answer those questions in literally hundreds of languages. It's beautiful to live in this marvelous state where that's possible, isn't it?
Absolutely. And which means that if you have a friend or you know someone who is apprehensive because of some language limitations that they may have in terms of the English language, you can encourage them to yet call in, because they can find someone who would be able to speak the language that is familiar and native to them, so they can have clarity of understanding in their own language, whatever it might be.
Exactly. Now, some of the most important questions that I get in my presentations on Covered California and the Affordable Care Act are, what kind of insurance is it? And the answer is that it's the insurance that you already know. You can access Medi-Cal through Covered California. Through these means of getting information that we're talking about, the phone number and the website. If you qualify for Medi-Cal, and now many, many more people qualify for Medi-Cal than did previously, because there are no longer restrictions based on assets. Your eligibility is based solely on your income. So if you were previously denied because you owned a home, that's no longer going to be an obstacle to you and your family getting the free health care that's available through the government, through Medi-Cal. And that's excellent insurance.
That's exciting to hear.
Families who qualify for that should definitely take advantage.
Okay. That's exciting to hear, Zachary, because I know of many persons, even my own father, when his health was impaired prior to his passing, there was the issue of his assets. He was retired, and therefore his income was limited, but he was compromised by owning a home and other assets. And so you're saying that's no longer an impairment to persons being able to get the benefits of Medi-Cal.
Exactly. And so if you're an adult individual, even if you don't have any kids, and you make $15,860 or less, you are eligible for Medi-Cal. And that goes up the more people who are in your household. So if you have a family of four, and you make $32,500 a year or less, then you and your whole family are eligible for Medi-Cal. And in families who make more, it may be that even if you as adults aren't eligible for Medi-Cal, your kids still could be.
Okay, very good. That's so encouraging to hear. As we continue to give attention to it, so when persons go online to CoveredCal, and that's coveredca.gov, or if they call the 1-800 number, the 1-888-975-1142, or if they make contact with some persons doing presentations in the community, they will find that they will have opportunity to learn of the various health insurance programs in the marketplace, which means it's actually private insurance. The government is facilitating the information, but it actually is private insurance that they would be able to receive to cover their health care needs.
Exactly. So now if you and your family do not qualify for Medi-Cal, that doesn't mean that there isn't insurance for you. Now, thanks to the Affordable Care Act, and through Covered California, you can have access to the same name brand insurance that you would recognize would be available to you. For example, if you had a job with an employer who provided health care. So the insurance available to people who purchase it through Covered California are name brands like LA Cares, Kaiser, Blue Shield, Anthem. It goes on. And it's all health insurance that has to provide a minimum high standard of care. And it's a standard which now actually exceeds the Knox-Keene state standard, which was previously the highest in the nation.
Okay, very good. And again, that brings us back to the other issue that we were discussing. There are persons who are receiving letters from their insurance carrier saying that their packages have been canceled, and they have been told that they can replace it with a much more expensive package, which can become discouraging to them to think, well, I was paying this amount, now you say I'm going to have to pay this amount. But the reality is, rather than simply jump at the higher amount, they can actually go online to Covered California and find out that there may, in fact, be policies available to them that are commensurate in cost with what they were paying before, and yet providing a larger swath of services. Is that correct?
That is correct. So now, if you are purchasing insurance as an individual right now on the open marketplace, you're going to find rates that are really high, that are really onerous, and which which may not cover much, or if they do, it'll be really expensive when you actually do have an emergency. Now, that's not really what you think of when you go to purchase insurance, right? The whole idea of insurance is that it's going to protect you from unexpected costs, that you're going to be able to manage any future illness that you have by paying in advance to have that insurance. And so, Covered California ensures that when you do purchase insurance through the state marketplace, that it provides the things that you need. It provides insurance against those high medical costs, which actually result in over 60% of all bankruptcies nationwide are the result of costs associated with medical emergencies. And so, if you're going without insurance, you're literally gambling. You're gambling with your house. And if we're honest, if we're really honest, you're gambling with your life.
Yes.
Because it's also true that there was a study in 2009 at Harvard that said that every year in the United States, 45,000 Americans die because of lack of health insurance. So we have an opportunity now in this country and here in California that people can get the insurance, the protection that they need, from these illnesses and these financial risks by gaining access to insurance. And the best part of it is that there is financial assistance for those people who need it to purchase the insurance.
I also understand that one of the things that has accompanied the Affordable Health Care program is access to preventative examinations such as mammograms and other kinds of testing that can help to assure you of what the status of your health is and help you to prevent some possible ongoing malady, and that's available at no cost. Is that correct?
That is correct. So preventative and wellness services are one of the 10 categories of essential health benefits that are offered under all of the insurance plans that are available through Cover California. And that's because that's one of the principal benefits of having health care. If you can go see a doctor who will help you to prevent getting sick, or who will help you to get well, as you're beginning to get sick initially, that's really the best time to address any illness is right away at the beginning, right? Then that helps keep you healthy, and that helps you to live a better life. But also each insurance plan that's available through Cover California also includes emergency services, hospitalization, maternity care, mental health and substance abuse disorder treatment, prescription drugs, rehabilitation, lab services, and also pediatric services and chronic illness services.
As you
So
mentioned,
this insurance really covers the things that you will need as an individual to stay healthy.
As you mentioned mental health, it just was brought to my attention that it was actually last week was the 50th anniversary of President John F. Kennedy signing the Mental Health Care Act, which provided for the increased availability of mental health treatment. And that becomes important because so often we have persons, either ourselves with certain emotional problems that we really not sure what's going on with us, or we know of people whose behavior causes us to wonder. And so the fact that they can actually go and be able to have an assessment of their mental health, and then as needed to be able to have insurance that provides for mental health care treatment becomes so important, and especially throughout our nation and certainly in our community.
That's right.
So that we then we move away from this stigmatization of mental health. We have persons who have a variety of issues that are going on with them, and because we have a tendency to respond to them with fear and suspicion and dismay, we deprive them of the possibility of being able to get the treatments that could be so valuable to them, that would help them to experience a better quality of life, and help those around them to also experience a better quality of life. So this is one of the added elements that is receiving increased attention through the Affordable Health Care Act, if I'm hearing you correct.
Exactly. And now, some people may have heard that there are a few health insurance plans that were recently, recently taken off of the state, exchange, and that's because these insurance plans did not meet those basic standards, right? And so when you buy something, you want to make sure that it's actually going to be a benefit to yourself. Yeah, we don't pay money just to pay money, and so that's why those plans have been rejected. They're junk insurance, and that's not what's on offer at Cover California. The insurance that you get through Cover California is high quality. It's going to cover what you need, and it's going to be affordable.
Okay. The other issue I hear about is this whole matter of pre-existing disabilities, persons who could not get health insurance because they had some pre-existing disability, and so they were going around without insurance because they were excluded. And I understand that's been corrected. Is that correct?
That absolutely is correct. Previously, insurance companies could deny you if they could make the argument that you already sick before we insured you, right? And so in my family, I have an example of that where my older sister was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis at the age of 25.
Yes.
And she had insurance, right? But they tried to make the case that was a pre-existing condition, so they wouldn't have to cover her. That's shameful, right? But my family had, and it's shameful that my family had to hire a lawyer in order to incentivize them to reverse that decision. When you buy insurance, you do so with the assumption that it's actually going to cover you when you get sick, and this insurance that you get through Cover California actually will.
Another thing I've heard is that the cost previous to this, the cost for insurance for women was significantly higher than the cost of insurance for men, and there's an effort to correct that imbalance with the new Affordable Health Care law. Am I correct in that understanding?
I'm sorry, I missed the question. What was that?
That women no longer have to pay more for health care insurance than men.
That's absolutely correct. And until now, many insurance companies discriminated between their customers simply because of their gender. They decided that for whatever reason, maybe just because they could, they would charge women more. That's outrageous, and thank goodness for the Affordable Care Act, because that is no longer the case to Cover California.
Again, we want to say to our Faith on the Frontline audience, listening audience, we're so delighted to have you join us each week on Fridays from 11 a.m. to 12 o'clock noon here on latalklive.com. And we have been delighted to have as our resource person today Zachary Conron, who is with CLU, Clergy Laity United for Economic Justice. And we invite you to join us each week, each Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 noon on latalklive.com. We want to again extend our appreciation to our sponsors that have been supporting us each week, and then we also want to say a thank you to our engineer, the man who makes it all happen, Van Marshall, who's keeping us going here in the studio. And again, we want you to not just talk about it, we want to encourage you to be about it as we live out our faith on the front line. Thank you so much, and blessings be upon you as you move through this week.